Yes, the fame was happening. The quest continues. Brothers, sisters, today I'm going to be sharing with you guys and girls something that I didn't think I would say, something that I didn't think I would ever say. And so it's going to be a bit of a vulnerable one. You know, it's like that with Usmān. You get it raw, you get it real, unfiltered, unedited. And so let's do this. Today I want to talk to you about loneliness. Loneliness. Man's been lonely the past couple of years, deep down, and it took me a while to actually acknowledge it. Yeah, it took me a while to acknowledge that I've been feeling kind of lonely. Now, I didn't think I would ever say this. Why? And let me just preface, this isn't a pity party. This isn't a call out for help. This isn't a come and help, come and save me. No. All emotions have their place. Every feeling has its place. It's a signal, and it can tell us about ourselves. It can tell us about our past. A lot of the time, it hasn't even got much to do with the present moment. It could be about the past. Traumas, experiences stuck within our nervous system, trapped emotions that come to the surface in the present, but they're rooted in the past. Or it can be showing us something about our lives today, showing us somewhere where we could be improving. Okay? So, I never thought that I would ever say that man was lonely. But now that I think about it, I was the loneliest kid. I felt like the loneliest kid when I was young. When I was a young boy, I'm talking before I started on the personal development journey, before I got all confident and charismatic, before I gained the confidence to be my authentic self in social situations, before I overcame the social anxiety, man was bare lonely, okay? I always felt alone as a kid, and I'd isolate myself. I'd put myself outside of the circle, outside of the group. So sometimes I'd be doing it to myself, but also I'd be the last one getting picked for football. I'd be the last one getting picked to be on someone's team. Do you know what I mean? So it was something that was just innate. It was something that's happening in my simulation, something that's happening in my life to teach me something. So loneliness has been on my quest for some time. And the past couple of years, I didn't realise this, but man's been feeling quite lonely. Now, when the lockdown began, I was all gravy. At least that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I started smoking Mary Jane though. And so I thought that I was okay. And I'd be saying, yeah, man's cool. Yeah, I don't need to socialise because I got my meditation tools, because I got all of my self-love tools. I know how to be in a good relationship with me. Yeah. And so I excused or was blinded to that loneliness. I was blind to it because man was smoking up. Do you know what I mean? So I wasn't really spending time alone. There's the point here. It wasn't true solitude. It was self-medicated solitude. Solitude with YouTube videos. If you're spending time alone, you say, oh, I love spending time alone. I love my own company. But that company consists of screen time, hours and hours and hours in front of a screen, or smoking, 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 or eating, 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 wanking, 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 whatever it is, then it's not really alone time. It's not true solitude. True solitude is to be without stimulation. Okay? So was I really being a master of the alone? Was I really a master of being alone? No. I'm putting my hands up now, and it feels so good to have this awareness come through that 2.5 years ago when lockdown began, man started puffing every day, different strains. I became a bit of a connoisseur. Yeah, I became a connoisseur. Man was, yeah, nah, I don't want that strain. I get texts saying, yo, I got this and this and this and we got that. I'd be like, nah, don't they? They're all wax strains. Do you know what I mean? I got to the point where I knew what I was smoking. I knew what I wanted to smoke. That's how much I was smoking every day. And so I wasn't truly with myself. I was distracting myself. And so get clear on this. Are you spending time in solitude? Are you spending time alone with yourself? Or are you spending time alone in distraction? Okay? And that can be with exactly what I just said. Food, screens, games, Netflix, jumping on the phone, having long conversations where you're not really listening or you're just doing it to pass time. Do you know what I mean? I ain't saying being on the phone is bad, but a lot of the time, I noticed this with myself, I'd call people up, and I can still call people up just because man's feeling lonely. But they ain't people that I really want to be speaking to. Sometimes, not every time, sometimes it's more just a boredom kind of thing. Now that ain't respectful. That ain't respectful to the other person. That ain't respectful to the other person. So I'm sorry if I've used you. I'm sorry if I've used you. Yeah. Now, I ain't judging myself for any of this because this is all about self-knowledge. It's all about self-knowledge, coming to know ourselves. And as long as we don't skew too far from the moral compass, it's okay. Okay? We become aware of ourselves and then we can make adjustments. And so, over the past 2.5 years, smoking every single day, I now can reflect on this and see the importance of community in life, and I have a bit more clarity on what it actually means to experience loneliness. Like I said in the beginning, for a lot of us, loneliness is deep rooted in childhood. We were lonely kids, and so this is a belief system. This is part of our belief system. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love, I'm not lovable. Why did we learn that? Some early childhood experience, and I'm not going to be specific about what it is that needs to happen in order for a child to start believing that they're not lovable. It's usually a strong sense of disapproval, though, from the adults, when the adults are treating the children like the children are supposed to be adults. It's crazy. This is what we do. We treat babies like they're teenagers, and we treat teenagers like they're grown adults. And it's like, yo, totally lacking compassion as a human race. Totally lacking compassion, wisdom, and understanding as a human race. And then we traumatize the younger one. We traumatize them, the youngsters. Okay? So, no doubt, man experienced strong disapproval as a kid from mum, from dad, and or both. Siblings, getting bullied and stuff at home. Nothing too major, you know what I mean? But for a kid, they start to develop these belief systems, and I, at some point, developed a belief system that I wasn't worthy of love. Okay, that I wasn't wanted. Does that sound a bit like you? You might not even be aware that these subconscious beliefs are sitting inside of your nervous system, driving your behaviors. And so you go to a group activity, you stand over there like that. You stand in the corner all alone, acting like you're okay, like you're fine with it, like that's just who you are. But really deep down inside, you want to be part of the party. Yeah? So, just a quick one. Don't forget to like this video if you get some value from it, and subscribe too, okay? And if anything vibes with you, you want to share a perspective, scroll down just a tad, go to the comments and leave a comment and engage. Now, what have I come to understand, understand about loneliness? I get that word, understanding. I can understand something. I can gain a deeper understanding of a concept, of an emotion, of a feeling, of a feature of life by being in it. So it's okay to experience these feelings, and even if it's fear, anger, resent, whatever it is, whilst you're in it, that's the best time to learn about it. You can learn about it, and you come out and you can reflect on it. You gain new perspectives. Again, it's all about self-knowledge and self-mastery. It's not about perfection. Okay? It's not about perfection. It's not about being happy all the time, sunny all the time. If it was always sunny, the earth would be a raisin. The earth would be a dry lump. A big one. Okay? So balance, you know, it's all good to feel a little bit down. But what I've come to understand about loneliness is that it's not necessarily the absence of relationships. Of course, that can be a factor, but it's not necessarily that. It's the absence of connection in relationships that already exist. Oh man. So relationships that already exist, they're relationships, well, some of the first ones, right? Relationship with our parents. So if we don't feel that connection with them, we don't feel connected on that level, we don't feel like we can go to them, we can speak to them about anything, that will always be held, that will always be heard, that will be listened to, we can express ourselves, we'll be safe. Loneliness is almost guaranteed. Then we got our siblings, and the same goes for them. And if we don't feel like we really meet, don't feel like we can really relate, like we can really be ourselves, our true authentic selves with one another, and we're always keeping it on the surface, then you better bet that loneliness will settle in. And then if we're spending time with friends, if we go one level outwards even more, and we think about peer groups and friends and social circles, and we spend time with people that we know aren't bringing out the best in us, and we ain't really bringing out the best in them. Or maybe it's not equal, and there's a bit of a vampiric situation going on where you give a lot and they don't give so much. Then this is going to feel very lonely. Now, I've been on the giving and the receiving end of that. I've been in relationships where they were trying, bless. Usually with the sisters. I've had 2 intimate relationships in my life when I agreed with having girlfriends and casual relationship. I had 2 girlfriends, and one of them, or 2 of them, yeah. One of them wasn't actually, there was 2 girlfriends and then there was a third. Okay, there's a third, but she wasn't a girlfriend. This was like a polyamorous relationship, yo. This is something else for another video, totally. Okay, this was an open one. In the last 2, they were really trying, and I wasn't putting in. And so, no doubt, they felt super lonely. And so, Sophie, boom, right to you. If you're watching this, I apologize for that. I apologize for that. You must have felt so lonely, not feeling the connection with me in that relationship that was established. Yeah, so I apologize for that. And Gemma, you must have felt so lonely. Wow, when you came over to my home, to our home. Wow. I'm sorry, because I wasn't putting in. Yeah, now I've been on the receiving end of it too for time. And this is coming to the surface now that I've stopped smoking. It's finally coming to the surface. I'm able to see it because I'm not self-medicating and distracting myself. And bear this in mind, when I started smoking, I didn't know that I was self-medicating. I thought that I was just getting high, baby. I thought I was just doing what the cool kids do. I thought I was just enjoying it. That's what I used to say. I'm just enjoying it. Yeah. I've got a good relationship with it now. I'm just enjoying it. I like the taste. Really, what I was doing was unconsciously self-medicating loneliness. Okay? So, in many of my relationships, with people that I thought are my bros. You know, you know who you are. I've put a lot in. I have. Not all the way from start to finish, but I put a lot in. I've always been there. I've always been there. If you ever needed anything, I'd be there to talk. I'd be there to listen. I'd be there to help. But to then not receive that hurts. That has hurt. I gotta be fully honest. That has hurt. And it's made me realize the truth of loneliness is that when there's relationships already established, when we've connected with people and we hold a space in our hearts for them, and then we are reaching and they ignore, or we're trying and it's not met, this creates loneliness. Or if we give but we don't receive, I'm not saying give to receive, but come on, this is relationship, we exchange. If it's one way, loneliness will be a byproduct. So what can we do about this? Again, beautiful wisdom from the Prophet, peace be upon him. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, it's better to be alone than to be in bad company. And it's better to be in good company than to be alone. So, when we're alone, we do the things that are good for us. We do the things that we love to do, that we enjoy. We work on our craft. We work on our skills. We work on ourselves. We train. We do things we love to do. Look, I'm filming this video right now. This for me is an antidote for that lonely feeling. Not in the sense that, oh, I'm with a friend right now. But I create connection. This is creating connection to me. And so loneliness is the absence of connection. Not necessarily the absence of relationships, the absence of connection. We can be in a room full of people, but there's no connection, and therefore it's a lonely place. Do you get me? So we do the things that we love to do when we're by ourselves. Yeah, do the things that are good for you. Sort your room out. I've said this. Sort the bedroom out. Make it a mini holy space. A place that reminds you of what's best in you. A place that brings out the best in you. Okay? My bedroom was a place that brought out the worst in me. That's how I'd set it up. It was a place for me to just self-medicate. Okay? And distract. And deplete myself. And then I had to make a change. I had to make a change, and I found my prayer mat tucked away in one of the cupboards in this little closet thingy here. I found my prayer mat tucked away, and I saw it, and as I saw it, I knew, oh my goodness, I was meant to find this. I was looking for something else. I ended up finding the prayer mat instead. I put it down on the floor, and since then, self-medication does not happen in my room now. Escapism does not happen in my room now. Indulgence, gluttony does not happen in my room now. Lusting does not happen in my room now. Doesn't happen in my room now. Beautiful. So, create a space that you love to be in. Yeah? Create a space that you love to be in. And then, here's the thing that I'm working on now is establish connection with the people that bring out the best in you. And if you've got friendships that already exist, I'm not saying delete them. There is no honor in that. I find that hard to let go of relationships that have existed for a long time. Even if, and maybe this is the issue with me, is that I attach. Why? Because we've been homies since day one. But it's been unequal for bare time. It's been unequal for so long. I can't let go, or I can. I'm choosing not to, out of hope. You get me? Out of hope that you'll come around, out of hope that you'll gain that your honor will level up and you'll start putting some energy into the relationship. Now, I ain't a fan of hope so much. Hope is like, I hope it will be like it used to. And this for me it ain't the way. So really what I'm saying is surround yourself with the people that bring out the best in you. Surround yourself with the people that want to be with you, okay? Not people that you can tell you invite them to go, to hang out or something. You know they're exploring all options and you're the third, fourth, fifth option. I've sensed that. I've sensed it, right? People who we trust and people that trust us, and what creates trust? Experiences shared together. And sharing vulnerability, sharing ourselves, showing up for one another, speaking the truth to one another. This is what is a core component of healthy relationship, being honest. There are some relationships in my life I've experienced the most beautiful levels of honesty. And these relationships have been the most trusting. These relationships have been the most beautiful. And there's some relationships that have lasted 20 years plus, and the honesty is atrocious. It's atrocious. So that's not, that's a recipe for loneliness, is connections that go deep. They go back a long time, but it's thin. It's on the surface. If you feel like I'm talking to you, I probably am. So, loneliness, an interesting one. An opportunity for the whispers of dark forces to come into our ears and start tempting us to self-medicate. Again, it's better to be alone than to be in bad company. So when we're alone and we're not in bad company, or company of those who are bringing out the worst in us, company of those who allow the worst in us to just be. They allow us not to be our best selves. They don't encourage us or hold us accountable and say, hold up, bro, you've been smoking 2.5 years every day. Hey, man, every time I see you, you got a joint. Are you okay? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I'm concerned. This is what a real friend would do. This is what a real friend would do. So I'm coming to terms with it. I'm coming to terms with it. That people that I thought were real friends haven't been real friends. At least not to my standards. Maybe to your standards, but I got different standards. And so we can't settle for these low standards no more. If you've got higher standards, and it's not perfectionism, but it's a genuine higher standard because you are worthy and you feel that within your heart and you feel that within your soul that you're worth more, then raise the standards and don't settle. Don't settle for other people's thin, flippant standards. Okay? And then there's the other part to that statement that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, and it's better to be in good company than to be alone. And so it's about seeking, it's about getting out there, it's about going to places and mixing with people and connecting with community, okay? So blessed to be born into the Islamic community. This is something I turn my back on. Why? I'll be honest, because there was very little connection, real authentic connection. I never felt like people in the Islamic community were really being themselves. People present this image that they've never sinned, that they don't sin, that they don't get up to no good. And this for me created a disconnect, because it's just like, yo, you ain't honest. You ain't honest. So as I'm standing there with you and you're talking to me, you're asking me how my mum is, how my dad is, I feel like you don't really care. Do you get me? So even in our communities, there can be disconnect. And so the power here is to go into community, but to be our most authentic selves. Be our most authentic selves. I mean, speaking up, speaking true, not in some rebellious fashion, in an assertive, authentic, honourable way. Someone asks a question, how's your mum and dad? And then they're all looking all over the place like that, and they're already starting a conversation with someone else. Just don't respond. Walk away. Or say, do you really care? I don't think you really care. Why? Why don't you think I care? Because you asked me a question, 2 seconds later, your attention's over there. You're not present. You get me? So there's something that I want to touch on, presence. You see, we don't just need to be with others in order to feel a sense of connection. And this is why on my journey, meditation has been such a huge part of the journey. But now I acknowledge that community is important. Okay, so there's two sides to this. There's connection to ourselves, which is huge, and that can remedy loneliness. When we're spending that time with ourselves, we connect to ourselves. But then there's the external connection of having that community, of having groups that we feel safe in, places we can go to where we connect to other people on an authentic level, where we be ourselves. We ain't just people pleasing, lowering our standards and saying things that we don't mean. We're being honest. So connection to the self, one way to do this is meditation, connection to a higher force, meditation, prayer, new re-addition back into my life since stopping the smoking and wanting to connect to more structured spirituality. Prayer and meditation, movement, exercise. How many of us use the gym as a place of therapy? How many of us do that? Why? Because we get that time to be with ourselves and to do something that we enjoy to do and to progress and to grow. Yeah? And we psych ourselves up. We say, come on, you got this, one more. Yeah, we're connecting to ourselves. So connection to self, inner connection, looking within, and also praying to the divine. Because that is a thing in this. When we talk about connection, we got to talk about the divine. We got to. If there's no connection to something bigger than ourselves, then of course we're going to feel lonely and isolated. We live in the me-centered universe then. It's just me, 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 me. My desire, my desire, my desire, my desire. And this is a one-way trip to depression. When I was binge eating, I was binge smoking and self-medicating all day. This is a very selfish life. This is a very selfish way of living. This is me-centered. It's all about what do I want right now. And it's not even me, that's that lower nature. It's that lower nature, an aspect of us. What does it want? What does it want? Let's fulfill it. Let's stuff the mouth. That's a one-way ticket to loneliness and depression, because it literally, mathematically, it's just maths to me. It makes clear sense. If I'm just living for what that lower nature wants, then I'm not part of something bigger. Whereas when I move towards the desires and towards fulfilling the desires and the motives of the higher nature, the higher self, the part of us that makes that sacrifice, the part of us that's got goals, that wants to be something, that wants to give something, contribute something. And that connects us to a greater whole, to our communities. Prayer, however, an internal spiritual practice, this is connection to a greater whole on a spiritual level. And so you start to realize that you're not just an isolated human being. You're not just you. You are a part of a huge family. A huge family, the biggest, the family, including the planets, the stars, the rocks, the mountains, the oceans, the forests, everything. We're all together. We're all together. And this might sound a bit fluffy, but if you really develop a deep spiritual practice, you'll come to acknowledge this, that you are creation. You are creation. Just like the worms, just like the birds, just like the trees, just like the birds. Did I say the birds? The bees. Everything that exists, it's all one. It's all from one. Okay, so this is what it means in Islam, at least my current understanding of Allah, is that oneness. That oneness. And all of creation is one and from one. And therefore we all connect through that. We all connect through that spiritual connection. Okay? Connection to spirituality is interesting because you've got the internal meditation and prayer, but you've also got the external spiritual connection, which is contribution. This is the action that says to my being that I am part of something bigger. Not just meditating, now I'm connected, okay, then I open my eyes and then I'm in my bedroom alone and there's no one around, and so let's just smoke up. Do you know what I mean? That's exactly what I was doing. Meditating, proper feeling all connected and that. And then as soon as I come out of meditation, it's back to self-medicating and living like a degenerate. So, external connection, contribution to the community. How can I give? How can I give to those around me? And it starts at home. It starts at home with parents, with siblings, but then peer groups, and then the community, like I said, your neighborhood, your city, your village, your town, whatever it is. Giving, living is giving. Trust me, to live is to give. It is a natural part, and I ain't just putting a cheesy quote together there. The bee gives to the flower gives to the bee jumps to another flower and gives. That flower gives to the bee. And then what does that do? Pollination, fertilization, the fruit starts to grow, and that gives. And then when that drops into the ground and those seeds and that fruit becomes rotten, it gives to the earth. That goes back into the tree, back into the ecosystem. Symbiosis, the ecology of the soul. This is beautiful. Every single one of us has a purpose here. Every single one of us has a purpose here. And it doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be grandiose. In fact, I stopped looking for my purpose in this grandiose fashion. What is my higher purpose? When I realized that my purpose was to be me, is to be Usmān and do what an Usmān does. So what does a you do? What does a insert your name do? Because there are certain feats of your personality, of your character, of your spirit that are unique to you, that you've always done, that you've always had. And this is your purpose, just like the bee is fulfilling its purpose. It doesn't think, what is my purpose? It doesn't think that, and it doesn't think, oh, shall we pollinate today or maybe not? It just does. Okay, so when you allow yourself to be your natural self, what do you gravitate towards? And if you've got no idea, expose yourself to new things and you'll find what feels harmonious with you. And when you feel that harmony and you follow that, and it starts to become a natural expression of you, then you'll start to realize that purpose is as natural as it can be. Purpose is the most natural thing there is. And when we're not living with our purpose, we're not living true to our purpose, this is when we're cutting ourselves. We're having the creative impulse to do, to create, to be, to go. But the ego, the lower self, is getting in the way. And that's the human situation. The bees, I don't think they got that problem. I don't think they got that. The animals, the mammals, the lizards, the humans, I think we got that issue where we can get in our own way. We're the only ones that can get in our own way. We're the only ones that can get in the way of our nature. So when I say higher nature, actually, that's one way to look at it, but another way to look at it is just our nature. I am my higher nature. I am my nature. But that lower nature, that fallen self, that lower self, the ego, if you want to call it that, that can cut us off. It can get in the way. It can create complication. And so we don't end up doing what is naturally harmonious for us. We don't be what is naturally harmonious for us. We get in our own way through these self-limiting beliefs. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not liked. I'm shy. X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. So the human journey is a bit different to the journey of a bee. But ultimately, the purpose is similar. It's just do what an insert name does. A bee just does what a bee does. So what does an Usmān do? An Usmān speaks. An Usmān moves. Yeah? An Usmān inspires. That's what I do. An Usmān explores. Yeah? An Usmān, from day one, this is what he's done. Open things up, take it apart, look inside. How does this work? Okay, now let's try and put it back together. What am I doing here? I'm literally unpacking loneliness because I've opened it up and looked inside to see what makes it and how it works. And then I'm trying to put it back together right now. That's what an Usmān does. He understands. He creates understanding. He's an engineer, but not just of physical things. He's an engineer of life. So what does an insert name do? Get that in the comments. Start just venting in the comments, yeah? Just do that. What does a insert name do? Question mark. Shift, hold shift, press enter a couple times, and then just start writing it out. This is what they do. This is what he's always done. This is what she's always done. If you've always sang, if you've always danced, if you've always explored, if you've always painted, if you've always been into music, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be so obvious like that, so tangible. Like I said, man's an engineer of life. I'd be opening up my toys, breaking them most of the time, but then trying to put them back together. Yeah? And so that's a little bit more of an abstract one, because I'm not just doing that with toys now. Man's doing it with his own psychology. Yeah? And then I help others understand themselves through that. So this is all about self-mastery. It's all about self-mastery. And loneliness is not necessarily the absence of relationship, but the absence of connection. So let that be a takeaway today, that connection is a foundational component to a natural and happy, thriving human life. Not even just human life, life. It's a natural component. And that means connection to ourselves and connection to a greater whole on a spiritual level and on a literal physical community level. We're living in a time now where community is fragile, okay? So let's build community again. Let's build community again. Yes, authentic, truthful community. I think I'm going to leave that one there. This has been a beautiful one. Thank you for sticking around if you watched all the way till the end. Fully appreciate your patience. Fully appreciate your attention span. You're one of the few, if you can listen through all the way till the end. So I congratulate you. Like the video if it provided any value. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I release another. And leave a comment. Do that, exactly what I asked you to do. What does our insert name do? Shift, hold it, press enter, enter. Boom, 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 boom. Vent it out. Vent it out. Start discovering your purpose right here, right now on this video. How about that? Let's do it. And share this video with someone that you know is feeling lonely. A friend of yours that has not been living up to their highest standard. They've been living to a lower standard than you know they're capable of. Send this to them as a token of your love for them. Don't be one of those friends that just watches their best friend wither. Don't be one of those people. That ain't a real homie. We call each other brother and then we don't even act like brothers. Yeah? So I stopped calling XYZ person on the street brother. I stopped doing it. Sometimes I can still call someone brother when really deep down I know I ain't gonna be a brother to you if you really needed me. Do you get me? So now I try and use that word to people that I know I'm gonna be there for. Okay? And if you feel, like these videos give you value, I'm calling you brother and I'm calling you sister. Because I'm here to give to you. Okay? I'm here to give. So I wish you as well. Have a beautiful day. Do the thing that you're avoiding. Have the conversation that you're avoiding. Eat the frog. You'll be proud of yourself for doing it. You'll be proud of yourself for doing it. Especially when you don't want to. Hence, avoiding. Much love. Namaste. Check out the description because you've got my Instagram link there. You can speak to me directly. Send me a direct message. And I'll set up a mailing list soon enough. But DMing me on Instagram is going to be the way to jump onto the exclusive mailing list for exclusive content that I won't be sharing on YouTube. I got an app coming soon. Man's going to have a new exclusive content library, courses, coaching programs. So if you're interested and you want to book a free call with me too, just to have a little chit chat and discuss your journey and your path of self-mastery, and or maybe you're interested in some coaching, then book that free call. It's valued at £100, 99, whatever number you want to use, but it's a valuable one. And I'll give you an hour at least of my time, and we can hang out, chat. I can give you some value, point you in the right direction, and then even possibly see how we can work together. So much love. Have the best day ever. If you've been feeling lonely, remember it's about connection. Create connection to yourself internally and connection to your community externally. Be honest and authentic and don't settle. Do not settle for lower standards. Aho. Namaste. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.